All right, so stay tuned. And as we continue our coverage of the Kasich announcement, the big question now remains what happens next between now and the Republican convention coming up later this summer up in Cleveland.
National Correspondent Mark Meredith joins us now. Mark, a lot of people are wondering, as we were just talking about, could Governor Kasich become the running mate for Donald Trump? He has said, I'm not interested in the job, but we all know candidates can say one thing on the campaign trail, then once they're out of it, things may change.
You're right about that one, Katie. In fact, Kasich has been asked that question several times, whether it be from Iowa to New Hampshire or even back home in Ohio, whether or not he would accept a vice presidential ticket. And as recently as the last few days, he said no, that he wasn't interested, that instead he wanted to see this nominee. Right there at the top of the bottom of the hour, you were showing that clip from the interview today with Donald Trump on CNN, where he said, look, he's possibly open to look presidential candidate. And Kasich does offer some unique items on a running mate ticket, including his background in Congress. He's been the executive of a state, as you guys well know, a state that's very important to Republicans winning any election in November. So I feel this would be one situation where Kasich would certainly make a short list for obvious reasons, but whether or not he's as open to the idea, Mark and Katie, we'll just have to wait to find out.
We certainly will. Okay, Mark, our connection is a bit spotty, so I hope you stay with us here. So yesterday, it was Senator Ted Cruz. He suspended his campaign today. Of course, Kasich dropped out, as we were just saying. The convention this summer, the nominating convention, is up in Cleveland. There was talk it could be a contested convention. Does this take all that off the table?
No, I don't think it takes it all off the table. It's until Trump hits that magic number, the 1,237 delegates that he would need. What's also interesting, though, for these contested conventions, it comes down to rules. There's always the possibility, not likely at this point, especially compared to where we were 2 weeks ago, but there's that possibility that something could change in the Rules Committee, that by the time the delegate voting got around, there will still be a full round of voting in Cleveland. Something could change there. Now, if Trump does hit that magic number relatively soon, which he's expected to do now, that does take the idea of a contested convention way, way further back than where it was. But there is, of course, always that chance. You can never say never at this point. Guys?
All right. Hey, Mark, one more quick question for you. The fact that Cruz and now Kasich have suspended their campaign, that terminology is key. Does that mean they still control their delegates? What kind of role will they play in the next few months and in Cleveland? Any idea?
You bring up a good point. When you say the word suspending a campaign, it's a very specific phrase in the idea that there's always the possibility that something else could happen from there. And while we've been talking about, yes, Donald Trump is being called the presumptive nominee, it is still presumptive. Until that voting happens there in Cleveland this summer, nothing is a sure thing. And when it comes to the delegates, it's interesting. Marco Rubio, remember him? It's been a while now. He still has over 100 delegates of his own that he'll be able to carry with him as he goes into Cleveland. Now, the question is, when it comes to the rules, it varies state by state. Some states will allow those delegates to only vote for the way that it was already set up in their state. They could change their ballots. It's a state-by-state basis. And as we've seen, though, with these conventions, anything is possible, but things are looking a lot less chaotic than they would have been, say, maybe even 48 hours ago.
Yeah, Mark, you make a good point. Last time I checked, Rubio actually has more delegates than Kasich at this point. But appreciate your analysis on breaking news this afternoon. Kasich suspending his campaign. Mark Meredith live in D.C. Thanks for your time.